Hey everyone, this is Davy. Today we're in Ghent for the NGBE conference in Belgium, organized by Sam and Jürgen. Oh, did I show you the logo? Here it is. Then, for the conference, we're shooting a Teach Me Anything section where we invite speakers, attendees to teach us things they know in under 10 minutes. It's going to be amazing, so stay tuned.
Welcome to Hackflix. I'm Nick Trogh from Microsoft. I'm an Audience Developer PMM, so that means that I interact with developers in conferences and meetups. And so today I'm going to talk to you about Azure Machine Learning Service, what you can do for it, and how to get to play with it.
Nick, welcome. Welcome on Hackflix.
Hi, Davey.
Yeah, we're going to have 10 minutes.
Okay.
Let's do this.
Cool. So what I want to talk to you about is Azure Machine Learning Service. Are you familiar with machine learning?
Yeah, indeed, machine learning.
So when we look at machine learning, it's basically a process of trial and error. It's a lot of trying, a lot of errors, a lot of evaluation, a lot of experimentation. So that's kind of the basic step when you start with machine learning, is that you grab your data, you spend like 80% of your time messing with data, making sure it's in the right format. And then you do some experimentation. That's where the fun part of machine learning happens. So we do these like week-long projects, and basically the fun part is not from Monday to Tuesday, but actually only on Friday.
Okay.
Like 4 of the 5 days are data. And so the experimentation happens in multiple cycles. So you have a lot of iterations. That could be 10, 20, 50, where you start trying out different algorithms. So you need to do regression because you want to calculate a specific value. You want to predict what's going to be the price of my house in 10 years.
Indeed.
Based on certain criteria. So you try different algorithms. That's one thing. Then for each algorithm, there's multiple parameters which you need to tweak and tune.
Okay.
This is what we call hyperparameter tuning. So as you can guess, there's a lot of possible combinations.
Indeed.
So you will have a lot of experimentation to do. And so how do you keep track of all those experiments? Because you've done like 50 of these iterations. How do you recall what combination
you've tried before? Okay.
This algorithm with that specific set of parameters, that's the good one. So you need to find a way for your experimentation, first to track all of the iterations. That's one. And secondly, which one is the best one? Well, you need to be able to compare different iterations. So there's two things that are key basically in experimentation.
Okay.
So this is where Azure Machine Learning Service comes into play. So what we do with Azure Machine Learning Service, it's basically, we call it ML Ops. So machine learning ops, in the same way as you have DevOps.
DevOps, ML Ops. That's a good name.
So we're trying to kind of bring the ops spirit into the ML process. And so the first part is the experimentation part. So how can we make sure that we version all of the experiments that we're doing? So versioning means that which data did we use? Which is the actual code that we used, so Python code. And what are the parameters that went with that?
Okay.
So those 3 things basically determine the context of your specific experiment. And so machine learning service allows you to track that, to have version control of your experiment.
Very good.
Yeah, so that's kind of step 1. That's kind of the basis of machine learning service. Now, the second step is once you have your experimentation, you've run your machine learning model with the different versions, how do you get that? Let's say you've selected the best one.
Okay.
So you've been able to compare based on kind of objective criteria. It could be the specific machine learning values that you compare and scoring that you compare. So let's say you've selected the right one, the best one. Let's say iteration 7 with that specific set of parameters. That's a good one. So we want to bring that one into production or in a test environment. So you want to deploy it. Because data scientists, so the ones that do the experiments, they have no clue typically about what it takes to bring this into production.
Indeed. The ops part.
Yes, indeed. So they write their Python code or their R code, and then they throw it over the fence. Yeah, add it to your application. Yeah. And that's where the developer or the operations guys come into play.
The engineer most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. So how do you integrate a trained model into an application? So ideally, you would just want to expose it as a REST endpoint, because that makes it very easy to integrate in any type of application, whether that is a mobile application, a web application. You just call into a web endpoint and you do your work.
Nice.
It will add the intelligence to your application. But how do you get from this Python code to a REST API? Again, that's where Azure Machine Learning Service is going to help you. So what we're doing is we're going to take a trained model. Could be a trained model based on Python. We're going to take that one and we're going to wrap it into a Docker container.
Okay.
So Docker,
yeah.
portable, anybody can use it.
Indeed.
You can scale it from a single VM that runs as a Docker host all the way to a big scale Kubernetes cluster.
Indeed.
So again, there you have a very big application. Your model can be running on a full cluster of nodes. And so Machine Learning Service is going to do that wrapping of your trained model into a Docker container. And actually it will add basically the plumbing that is needed to add kind of the REST interface around your trained model.
Nice.
So in the end, you end up with a Docker container or Docker image that you can then deploy on a specific host or cluster.
Yeah.
And you will have a REST endpoint that you can call into. And again, we have versioning there, because you want to know not just what experiment did we use, but also what versions of our images, Docker images, do we have for each of these experiments. So again, there, all of the version control over the mapping there is part of that machine learning service. So that's kind of what we try to achieve with Azure Machine Learning Service, basically managing that whole machine learning cycle all the way from I write my machine learning code, use whatever language and framework you want to use. So are you using TensorFlow, MX.NET, PyTorch? We don't really care. We're agnostic to that one. You do your experiments, we keep track of them, we allow you to select the right one, and once you have the right one, we will help you to kind of deploy that perfect model.
And versioning.
Make it versions and have your REST endpoint so that you can deploy it. So that's kind of the basic concept of machine learning service. On top of that, we kind of add a few more kind of developer-friendly tooling around it. In the sense that, so we talk about writing your machine learning model in Python code, so it's very code heavy. And Python, typically Python heavy. You can write it in VS Code, you can write it wherever you like, in typically in Jupyter notebooks as well. But what we want to do as well is make machine learning a bit more approachable to developers, because it may be a bit overwhelming. First, if you're not into Python, that's already a hurdle, learning a new syntax. But secondly, all of the frameworks that come with that, like scikit-learn or PyTorch or TensorFlow, it's a big hurdle. And also, well, if you don't have the understanding of all of those algorithms, it's pretty hard to kind of choose the right one. And so what we do there is, there's like two options. So we provide, on top of the code first experience, we provide you with a visual interface where you can just drag and drop.
Wow, okay.
You can basically see it as the Access and Microsoft Access for machine learning.
For machine learning,
So you have your set of predefined algorithms. You drag and drop them onto a canvas.
Okay.
On that canvas, you can design basically, this is my data. It comes from data source X. I feed it into my algorithm. I do my training. I do my configuration of my parameters, and that's it. It will generate a result. Very visual, very easy drag and drop experience. So again, that helps you more as a developer who has a basic understanding of machine learning. So you know, I need to do regression, I need to do classification, I need to do clustering, but you don't know all the algorithms. And so you get your visual interface. And then one step further, let's say even that is too much of a hurdle. You don't know which boxes you should be drawing or you should be dropping there, is what we call auto machine learning, auto ML.
Okay.
Where basically you say, here's my data set. This is what I want to calculate. It could be a number. It could be maybe, is it a cat or is it a dog? Kind of a classification.
Indeed.
And then you give the data to the machine learning, the AutoML service. And it's going to take the data, it's going to look at what do you want to achieve, and it's going to go through automatically through all of the combinations of algorithms and the parameters. And it will do all that work for you, and in the end, after a couple of minutes, it will tell you this model, this algorithm is going to give you the best output.
Okay.
And so that's basically what Azure Machine Learning is.
Okay.
So managing the full end-to-end cycle of machine learning and putting it into production, as well as some developer tooling to make your life easier as a developer to get your feet wet into machine learning.
Very good. That's a very good explanation. We have it. Thank you Nick, for your time, and hopefully people get curious and want to know more about what you have to offer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.